In this lesson, we're going to learn polygonal modeling techniques by building the wings. Alright, so before we get started here, I want to change the colors of my model here. I really don't care much for pink all over, and the vibrant colors can be a little distracting sometimes. And so I want to show you really quickly how we can create kind of a presentation type of model. So what I like to do is I like to select all of the objects in my scene, and I'll go ahead and change their color by clicking on this color swatch, and I like to choose black. Now black is very hard to model with because you really can't see the shape of it, you can't see that very basic shading. So I like to apply a gray material to my model. So with that applied, I always like to make that just a little bit darker than the default, just because it's much easier to see there. And then I'll hit OK. So now this is easier to work with. Okay? Alright, so let's go to our top view and let's take a look at the challenge that we have ahead of us. First thing that I see here is our wings have some curved and they have some hard edge characteristics to them, and that can be a little difficult to maintain in a model, especially with like box modeling techniques and things like that. Another issue that we have is we have a specific shape that is being taken out of this model, and we need to make sure that we take care of that detail because it's very, very prominent in the model. And box modeling can be very difficult to get a shape like that out of it. So the best approach would be to use what's called polygonal modeling techniques, and that's where we take a polygon and we extrude its edges to create strips and to create a basic shape, and then we fill in the topology. So to get started with this, I want to create this definitive shape here. Now before I can do that, one thing that I need to realize is that the wings, if we go to our front view here, or to our perspective view, if we look at our reference, the wings are angled down. And that could be a little bit of an issue whenever modeling. So what I want to do is I want to model the wings as if they were straight out and not angled down like this. And that's just going to make things a little bit easier to model. So let's go to our top view, and I'm going to come in here with a shape. Okay, and I'm going to create a circle, and I'm going to create a circle that is roughly about the size of my turbine here. Okay, and it's going to go around it just a little bit, and I'm making it a little bit larger just to compensate for the angle change. Okay, so this looks fairly close here, so I can deal with that. Alright, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into my Create panel, Geometry, Standard Primitives, and I'm going to create a plane. So we're going to come right up in here, we're going to click and drag, and that will give us a plane, and whenever we release, that plane is now created. I'm going to go ahead and make the length and width 3 by 3, and grab my Move tool, and I'm just going to position this right up against that circle. Alright. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be cloning these edges and following along with the topology that I need out of this detail. So first off, let's convert this polygon to an editable poly, and let's go to Edge Mode, and I'm going to grab this edge right here, and I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to drag this straight back. Okay. Now you'll see what has happened is by dragging that edge and holding Shift, it cloned that edge and created a polygon. Alright, this is the staple or the cornerstone of polygonal modeling. You're creating strips of topology or geometry to get finer details. Alright, so I'm going to select this edge, and I'm going to hold down Shift, and I'm going to drag this out on the X and Y direction, and I'm just following along, making sure that this corner follows along with this circle. Okay. I'm also going to go into vertex mode by hitting 1 on the keyboard. I'm going to select around that vertex, and I'm just going to adjust that topology. Now what I'm looking for is this edge to point to the center of the circle, or fairly close. Okay. I'm going to go back to edge mode. I'm going to drag this out to about the same size of polygon as this. We're going to go to vertex mode, grab that vertex, and just kind of point that to where this line is now pointing toward the center. This is how you can keep your topology nice and neat. It needs to go along with the flow of your polygons. Let me show you what it looks like without turning those vertices. We'll come out here and we'll just continue. This is okay, not too bad. But once we get out a little bit further, what you're going to notice is that the topology is not going to work for us. And then we'll get to a point to where these polygons become very small, and then they begin to turn back on themselves. And so this is the back face of that polygon. So we need to make sure that we are taking care of that topology. So I'm just going to hit Control Z a couple of times, and I like to just adjust this as I go along. Now you could do 2 or 3 here and there and then go back and adjust that topology, but I figure while I'm there I might as well just do it. So I'm using the keyboard shortcut 1 to switch to vertex mode, moving that vertex that's selected in the X and Y, holding Shift and dragging that edge, and I'm going to edge mode by hitting 2 on the keyboard, and then back to vertex mode by hitting 1, 2 to hit to go to edge mode, 1 to vertex, and we're going to end this right out here at the edge of our wing here. There we go. Okay, looking really good. Now don't worry if some of your topology is going through the circle. You just want to make sure that each vertex is at least touching the line of the circle, okay, or fairly close. Okay, and you'll be fine. Alright, so now that we have this here, how is this going to help us? First off, I'm going to go ahead and take this topology. I'm going to put that right in the center there. How is this going to help us? Well, we've already defined the major detail that we need out of the wings. Now what we need to do is we need to define the shape of the wings, okay, the rest of the wing itself. So we're making sure that we are getting a nice neat detail, okay, in something that's very, very difficult to shape. We've got a lot of smooth geometry, we've got some hard surface geometry, and then we've got this special geometry here. So let's go ahead and continue using our polygonal modeling techniques. So what I like to do is I like to go out to the first edge and hold Shift and drag that out, and then I'll just adjust that topology as needed. Let's hit Alt X just to see that. Okay, and then I'm going to skip every other edge, and I'm going to show you why here in just a moment. This is a neat little trick. Okay, so I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to move this right into here. Now I know that this edge right here is going to be curved, so I'm creating a segment that's going to follow along with that. Okay. Let's go ahead and move this guy right here. I don't want him to move all the way down to the corner just yet. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and do that. It's going to be easier. So I'm going to take this vertex all the way out to the edge. We can get that curve shape very, very easily. Let's go ahead and take this guy. And again, we're not able to see what's going on here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hide the vent in the fuselage for just a moment. So we'll right-click, hide selection. And actually, before we do that, let's go ahead and hide it. We will talk about grouping and organization in just a moment. So hide selection. Let's take this edge here, and I'm going to move it all the way out. Okay. And we're going to take this guy, move him out here. And then this one, and move it out here. Very good. Just trying to match up the reference image the best that I can. I'm going to go ahead and pull that back just a little bit there. Alright, so we've created this shape of our wing. Okay, and it looks like we forgot all those boxes there. Not a big issue, those should be okay. Let's deselect that, the wing there. Let's hide that selection. There we go. So now that we have this, we need to fill in the rest. Okay, and how do we do that? Well, we can go to Edge Mode and we can use a neat tool called Bridge. And what Bridge will allow us to do is select two edges, and then if we hit Bridge, it will create a polygon in between those two edges. Now we can use Bridge a couple of different ways. We can select two edges and then hit Bridge, or we could have no edges selected. We can activate Bridge and it will allow us to pick what bridge or what edges to bridge from and to. So let me select this one first, and then we'll go to this one second. There we go. And then I can continue on. Okay, doing the same thing here. Okay, I can do it that way. And I also have settings under Bridge. So if I go to the Bridge settings, and let's make sure that we have the correct edges selected. And for some reason, Bridge tends to not work with settings sometimes. So you just kind of have to reselect those and then try it again. Okay, so I know that those will work. There we go. Now we have those settings, and now we can adjust things like our segments. So how many segments we want in there. Normally, if it's 1-to-1, I always just use the regular Bridge. We have things like smoothing. We can bridge adjacent, and we can reverse triangles if we need to. We can use our edge selection or something like that. But we're going to hit OK. And then finally, we'll bridge this last one. And there we go. So let's turn off Bridge. Let's go to our top view. And let's adjust our topology here. So I have this vertex. Let's just move that straight out. There we go. And let's go ahead and adjust this one. Just kind of relax that shape a little bit. Alright, so looking really good at this point. So we have the shape of our wings. So now what do we do? Well, what we need to do at this point is we need to go ahead and shape the overall smoothness of the wings. I'm going to go ahead and bring these out just a little bit more, all the way out to the edge. Okay. And I'll move that one a little bit too far, sorry about that. And I'm just making sure that we've got a nice, neat little curve, that our wings look really good. We might go away from the reference image just a little bit because, again, remember those wings are tilted. And now what I want to do is I want to take these edges along the front, right here. And I want to drop those down in the Z. So we're going to start to get that curve in our wings. So how do we get that smooth look on the wing here? So we know that this is very, very smooth right here. Well, what we can do is we can go to Edge Mode. Let's select this ring. So I'm going to hold down Shift and select that edge there. And I'm going to use Connect. Let's go ahead and slide that down toward the front. And we'll go to something around 46. And then I'm going to take just these edges right here. And I'm going to lift those up. Okay. And that's going to create that slope that we need. We can go ahead and check this out by taking a look at what this model will look like when smooth. So if you want to add a turbo smooth to it, you can do so. Okay, just kind of checking that out. Let's take our iterations up and use isoline display. So looking very, very smooth. Might be a couple of edges or points in this that we'd want to raise up, like this here. So I have this vertex. I'm going to just raise that up some. Let's also show end result, so that way when we're moving this, we're seeing the end result of the smooth. Going to adjust that one as well. Trying to get a nice smooth transition. Alright, so looking really good. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn off Turbo Smooth. I'm just going to turn that light bulb off. Okay. And now what I want to do is I want to create the rest of the wing. I've got this shape out here on the front that I need to create here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use those editable or the polygonal modeling techniques again. So I'm just going to select these points. I'm going to hold down Shift and drag those straight out. And then we will adjust those vertices as needed. So we'll pull this out to the corner. And I'll pull that out to that corner there. And we'll do something along these lines here. Alright, very good. Let's take those edges right along the front and we'll drop those down too. And let's not select that one, just these right here. Alright, good. Make some adjustments to our topology as needed. So just kind of lifting that up there. Alright, so we have the shape of our wings. But now what we need to do is we need to create the bottom of the wings. You'll notice that there's just really not a whole lot of smoothness right across here. And we don't have anything along the bottom. So how do we get that? Well, what we're going to do in our next lesson is we're going to take a look at a technique for creating something like the bottom of the wing here for using existing geometry and how we can connect that to make one solid piece. All right, so I'll see you in the next lesson.